Hello and welcome to the demonstrational video for the 2007 Compass Avantguard 130. So we'll start around the outside, work our way to the inside. So starting with the cab, the bonnet catch on these is just here on the passenger side, on the inside of the dashboard just there. So that's the release for the bonnet. This doesn't have blinds, it's got a curtain which is just situated there, and it's a curtain rail, as you can see, this rail here that goes all the way around the outside, and that blanks off your windscreen and side window area for the night blinds. You do have tyre pressures here, but refer to the actual tyres themselves because some of these have been fitted with specialist camper tyres. So as you come to the bonnet then, to release the bonnet, there's just a catch underneath as normal. Just show you the controls under here. So under here we've got washer fluid, power steering, brake fluid, coolant, oil fill. The dipstick is just under there. If you ever need to jump start it, you put the positive terminal onto this here, and then the negative terminal onto here. So that's your earth and that's your positive. So moving around the motorhome on the outside then, we've got the gas locker here. So this will take two gas bottles, two 6 kilogram bottles. They're secured in place by these straps here. The bottles sit on the floor there, and then this is an inline gas regulator, so that regulates the pressure. You'll need a flexible hose that comes off the end of this. I'll grab one of those for you, don't worry about that. So that comes off there and goes onto the gas bottles. The gas bottles themselves have got taps on the top of the bottles. Motorhome doesn't come with gas, but you'll need the gas bottles for it. So I'll get you it's what's called a pigtail, and it comes off the top of there and goes onto the gas bottle itself. So you don't need a regulator; it's an inline regulator. So that's the gas locker. Next to that we've got the water fill, so that's filled just with a hose pipe into the vehicle. You unscrew this, a bit like when you fill it with fuel, but don't get the fuel and the water mixed up, obviously. So you need a key for that. Just push it in slightly and turn it round, and then just fill that up with water with a hose pipe until it pours out, and then you know that's then full. So you've got to push that in just a little bit to get it to turn round. So that's the water fill. Next to that there's a 12 volt socket. It's only really used if you've got a container of water on the floor and you wanted to pump water from that container into your tank. Then you can put a submersible pump in there, and then that would do the job of filling it for you. But just drive over to the water fill that they've got on sites, and then just fill it up with a hose pipe. That water tank will need draining down in winter. If it's left in there and it freezes, it will damage the tank. So water in there, if it freezes, it'll expand and it'll crack the tank. So to drain that down, there's just a tap there, straightforward enough. It's marked on it, open and close. So if you move that tap around, that will then let you drain all the water from the fresh water tank. Similarly, there's also a waste water tank on board. So everything that goes down the sink and down the shower ends up in a tank which is underslung on the motorhome. There's an indication inside to tell you when this is full. There's also an indication inside to tell you when the fresh water tank is full, which we'll come to when we go on the inside. But again, same tap system. To open that up, you just turn the tap round to the open position, and then drive over the grid that they've got on the sides and allow the waste water to pour out either onto the floor or through the grid to get rid of the waste water. Again, needs to be drained down in winter. If any fluids are left in this vehicle, they need to all be drained down because they will expand when they freeze, and then it can damage the tank and the pipework. So on this one, it's been fitted with an awning, so you need an awning winder for this, which is just here. So on the end of that, it's got a hook that goes into an eye on the awning itself, and then you've got a handle here that winds the awning out. So as you can see, that's the awning wound out. Don't wind it all the way out, just wind it so that these have got a shape like that to them. But these will go straight, but you don't want to wind that all the way out. They're stronger when they're in like an elbow position like they are now. And then the legs, the supporting legs, are housed just in the front inside here. So to get those out, you're better doing it at this side. You just pull that out, and you can see it cantilevers like that. So then take the leg down like that, and then this here, it's a telescopic leg, allows you to support the weight of the awning when it's on the ground. So that's how the awning should look when it's wound out. It might just come a little bit further out than that, but don't extend it to its full extension. So that's how the legs look, and they're the support legs, tightened up via this wing nut here. Okay, so that's the awning wound back in. Just wind it in until it clicks back into position. The buyer of this motorhome had some concerns regarding this lock that's fitted to the outside of the door. So the way that works is that it slides across to prevent the door being opened as extra security, and then to lock it, you just push that in, and then that's the lock in its secure position. The key for that is this black one here with a square fob on it, and then to release that, sorry, in actual fact the key is this silver one here. So that's it locked, that's it unlocked, and then just slide this back. So the door, there are two sets of keys. You can see a big bunch there, but there's two keys that have both got a round fob on them, but if you look at the numbers, they're slightly different. So one will be for the habitation door, one will be for one of the other lockers on the outside. So to lock it, it's a turn by the looks of things to the right. Okay, so you can see that's firmly locked, and then I've also checked and it locks from the inside. So just to put your mind at ease, it's locking from both sides. But yeah, there's two keys that look the same, so only one will fit it. So around the back of the motorhome, this one's been fitted with a bike rack. The way this works is that just release this. So this section sits down flat like that. These go over the wheels of the bike, and then these secure onto the crossbar of the bike. This just sits up like that, and you secure it in position with these here. But it's probably wise to put these down to secure this in position when there's no bikes on it. So that's how the bike rack works. So working our way around this side of the vehicle, we've got the toilet cassette compartment. To open, it will lock, as I say, probably one of those round keys is for this, but so you open it up, and there's an indication inside on the toilet itself to tell you when that needs emptying. And so to release this cassette, you push this handle up there, and that will allow you to slide out the toilet waste tank. So to empty that, you just flip this nozzle around, unscrew the cap off the end of that, and then pour the waste away. So turn the cassette over that way and then pour out. As you're doing so, press this button here. It lets air in as the liquefied toilet waste is coming out of there. So to liquefy the waste and get rid of all the smells, you put a chemical into this. So to get the chemical into it, you slide that back, open up this valve here, and pour the chemical into there. You can fill, once you've emptied it, you can fill it up with water, swill it around, get rid of all that water just so that it's cleaned it out, and then you put the desired amount of chemical into here and just a little bit of water into the bottom, and then it's ready to use again. Before you put this back in, make sure that valve opener is facing that way, otherwise it won't go back in. Similarly, when before you can get this out, you've got to make sure that the valve is closed on the inside, otherwise this will be facing that way and you're trying to pull the cassette out and it's it's going to damage this. So just make sure everything's closed before you drag out the cassette. So for the flush on the toilet, this has a separate tank for the flush on it. So it's another receptacle that needs filling. So to fill that, you just pour the water into here with a hose pipe if you want, but just be careful you don't have a big flow of water going into there, because it'll spray back out. So again, this needs emptying in winter conditions, so I think it's done in 2 parts this. So the first part would be the residual that's left in here. You just turn that around, you can see that's emptying. The second part is this hose here actually gives you an indication how much water's in it. You can probably see the fill level there. So to empty that, unclip this hose and just pull it down gently from the top, and then through siphoning it will actually get rid of all the water that's in there. So it sits back on that little nodule there. I don't know whether you can see that. There's a little tab just up there, and the hose sits onto that and then clips back into position there. So that's really important. Get rid of all the water that's in that. For winter, that will freeze up and it will damage the toilet flush system. So next one along is the vent for the boiler. So this has got a winter cover on it. So to get that off, you push in with your thumb there and peel back with your fingers there. So that must be off in order for the boiler to work. So whether you're heating it on gas or electric, this cover must be off. So that vent must look like that before you start operating the boiler. So next one along is the battery, the leisure battery. This is also where the mains electric would come in. So mains cable into here, and then there's a little notch out there. So you just put the mains cable into here and connect it onto that side. So this is what a mains cable looks like. The end that goes into the vehicle is the one with the lid on it. So they sit like that. So to connect those, lift the lid up, just push it onto there, and then the cable goes down there into that little notch there, and then you can close this door with the cable attached. That's just your leisure battery. Again, there's an indication inside to tell you what levels those are at. So now that we're in the motorhome, I'll just quickly run through the appliances. So gas hob, really straightforward. It indicates here to which burner you're going to be using. This doesn't have a ignition on it, so you will need an igniter for that. It doesn't electronically ignite, but it does have a thermocouple. So if the gas supply is broken to this, it will switch the gas supply off, because it's sensing that the flame has been extinguished. Underneath that, we've got the oven. You go one way for the oven, the other way for your grill. As previously mentioned, this particular oven, it needs a new igniter for the grill, which we've ordered. But the oven will light on with the electronic ignition, which is just there. Your fridge is what they call a three-way fridge, so it'll run on 3 different power sources. The first being electric, mains electric, so you just turn this dial around to mains electric. We're plugged in. That would work all day long and be efficient on mains electric. Next one, 12 volt, so that will only work when the engine alternator is running, so it works off the engine. So that's when you're in transit. That's how you keep the fridge cool. It won't get cold on this. It's really only just to keep it ticking over. So you'd need to get it cold at home first on the electric or the gas. But yeah, that's just to keep it ticking over. So that's transit cooling. Next one down is gas, which needs igniting. So the fridge will actually run on gas. So if you're off grid and you've not got an electric supply, then you can run the fridge on gas. The way you ignite that is by turning this dial here to the maximum, which it was. So that's maximum. Push this in and then press the igniter. As you're doing so, there's an inspection hatch just there. It's like a window, and you'll see a gas flame through that. You really do need to look quite closely, and then you know that the fridge is ignited. So it's like a pilot light on an old boiler, so that's how you know that the fridge is ignited on gas. Even after it's ignited, you just need to keep this pressed in. If you let that go, as soon as you see the flame, it'll switch off. So keeping your finger on this, constantly pressing that button until you see the flame through that little window. Keep that pressed in for 20 seconds or so, and then let go. Make sure the flame stays on, and then you know that your fridge is operational on gas. Okay, so we'll work our way around methodically then. We're in the washroom. So this is the toilet, this is the toilet cassette. The toilet cassette slides in this way here. So this valve here actually opens and closes that valve that I showed you where you put the chemical in. So the operation of it would be lift the seat, open the valve up, use the toilet, and that's your flush button there. So that's it flushing. Then close up your valve, and then you're ready to use again. Just make sure that the valve is closed when you're travelling, otherwise you've got the toilet waste sloshing around, which you don't want. That there is an indication that there's LEDs just there, so it tells you when it's half full, it tells you when it's full. You can actually see down there, so you know when it's full. The liquid that you put in it is bright blue, so you can actually see it rising as it's used. The sink is pulled down like that, and then to get rid of whatever's in the sink, you can just lift that and it'll pour down the back, but you're better just letting it drain down the sink itself. So single lever mixer tap, straightforward enough. Okay, so we're on to the heating. So this is just a straightforward gas fire. Sorry, yeah, so this is the gas fire. To ignite this, you again, same operation as the fridge. Push this in, turn it anti-clockwise round to 10. Keep that pressed in as you're pressing the igniter button here. So you need to continuously do that, and then the pilot light inspection hole is just here. So you actually do need to get down onto the floor to see that. So it's exactly the same operation as the fridge. You're pressing this in, igniter button, until you see the pilot light in there. Keep that pressed in even when you see the pilot light for 20 seconds, then slowly release it and you'll hear it fire up. And then you've got your temperature control via this nozzle here. Above the gas fire, we've got the wardrobe. Now, there's some important things in here. We've got the television aerial. To open that, unscrew this here, and then you can push that up through the roof. And what's happening is there's an aerial pushing up through the roof. You can twizzle it around to get a better signal, right and left. As you push it up, you can turn this dial here. What it is like a flat plate on the roof. So when you push it up, it goes up, and then that, as you turn it, so you can turn it around, it swivels it this way and that. Just make sure that that's down before you set off, otherwise you'll be catching trees if there's any low trees. In here we've got a main circuit breaker, so if there's a problem with any mains appliances, it will trip these fuses off like that. So they all need to be pointing upwards. Underneath here we have the hot water boiler, which I'll show you how to operate shortly. But again, it's another container full of water, so it is very important to drain that down, and you do so via this tag here. So when it's pointing upwards, it's drained. When it looks like that in the horizontal position, and it'll go both ways, then it means that the valve is closed and this will retain its water. If that's pointing upwards like that, all you're going to do is that boiler will just drop all the water out onto the floor out of a pipe underneath the motorhome. So just one thing to mention, when you first put all the water into the tank, which I showed you how to do, what you need to do is switch your tap onto hot, and then wait until you get a pure flow of water coming out of this tap. What that then does is pump the water from the freshwater tank that you filled through all the pipe work, eventually fill up that boiler, out the top of the boiler, and then out of your tap. Unless you've got a pure flow of water coming out of your tap, don't switch your boiler on, otherwise you're just heating this tank, which will just be full of fresh air rather than water. To heat the water that's in the boiler, to do it so on gas, turn this around to the picture of the gas, that switches it on. The green light indicates that the boiler's lit. In a second we'll get a red light to say that it's not managed to ignite. There we go. So we haven't got any gas connected, so for obvious reasons it's failed. So when you first connect your gas bottles onto it, you'll probably need to go through this process 2 or 3 times. So that's off, switch it on, it's trying to ignite, can't find any gas, fails. So when you first put your gas on, you've got pipes full of fresh air. You need to push all that air out of the pipes until it ignites. Now that you might need to do that 3 or 4 times before the gas reaches the boiler. To heat it on electric, it's just flick that switch there, and then the heating element kicks in on the boiler. So you can actually have that on, and it'll heat really quickly. Underneath that is the control panel. So first one is your pump. That switches the pump on. You won't get any water out of your taps until that is switched on. Water, so you saw the needle flick over there, so that's telling you about your fresh water level. So if there was any water in, it would sense that, and then the needle would give you an appropriate reading. At the moment it's reading the voltage of the battery, so you can see we're in good condition, 13.5 volts. If you wanted to read the vehicle battery, so the cab battery, you can do so by selecting that. Now I wouldn't recommend you do that if you're not plugged in, because you're going to then drain the cab battery. It's only really in emergencies that you would ever do that, because you're using the cab battery power. That's off. And then so you've got a 3-position rocker switch. So you've got your leisure battery, off, and vehicle battery. So the default position is the top position, which is your leisure battery. When your waste tank's full, that will illuminate. So just in the dinette area here, underneath the rear facing dinette, that's where the charging unit is housed, and on the front of that we've got a bank of fuses there. They're all individually marked, so that's your 12-volt fuses. So if you get a problem with the 12-volt system, your pump doesn't work, etc, etc, that's the first place you want to be looking. So they're all marked to tell you which ones they are. So this area here is the dinette, and that makes a bed. I'll just go through how that all goes together. So the first thing to do is lift up these shelves here. You do need to just lift the cushions slightly, otherwise they won't lift up these. So I'll just show you. Okay, so that's how they lift up. You just got to get the cushion out of the way. Underneath here is the ratchets for that. To release them, there's a little catch that's just there. You push that up, that releases it. So there's 2 of those, and it's exactly the same operation on the other side. So that's the other side up, and the table drops into the centre to bridge the gap between this area here, so I'll just do that. Sorry, on this one what happens is there's a slatted system that pulls out, that you just this here pushes back into that there. So that's how you make the bridge the gap between the two. The table, you just take the table out. So these slats here, you just pushing those back like that, and then pull them out past this here, and then sit them just over these. Okay, so the way the bed makes up, then you drop the cushions into the centre. So the backing piece is in drop down flat. That's the base cushion for that. Drop this down flat. The backrest from this here sits along that section and bridges that gap. So that's the bed made up. Obviously this here is then a walkway, so that whoever's in the bed there can get through. So that concludes the operational side of the controls, etc. There are a couple of notes I just need to make to this customer, but they were aware of some of those things. But I hope that's helpful, and if you've got any questions, obviously just email or give me a call, and I look forward to seeing you when you collect your new motorhome.